Hi, I'm Jonathan Manske, Cerebral Sanitation Engineer, and I want to share a technique with you that is incredibly simple and incredibly powerful. And this technique is the what if technique. It starts with the two words, what if? And those two words are incredibly powerful. They're the most powerful words I know, because what if can create possibility where there is none. What if can turn any situation around. And the way we use it is anytime we catch ourselves thinking in a way that we know doesn't serve us, is to turn that around with a what if. So if I'm in a bad mood right now, I can say to myself, what if I just got happy right now? You know, maybe I just got a speeding ticket, so I'm like, what if I just got over it and enjoyed the rest of my day? Anybody ever procrastinate? What if I just got productive right now, right? It creates this freedom, it creates this space for us to behave different. You know, Halloween or Las Vegas, both of those are an example where people get some freedom to step outside of their identity, right? But typically, Vegas, Halloween, people use that to behave in a worse way than they normally would. What if does the same sort of thing. It allows us to take a little break from our identity, but it allows us to behave at a higher level. So if my identity is sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I can't call that super duper prospect, I can't do it, right? And I've been thinking for 3 months now, oh, I should call that guy, I should call that guy, and I've never done it. I can use what if. I can go, what if I just called that guy right now? And it allows me to take a little break from my identity, to step out of my identity, step over here, pick up the phone, make that phone call, and then I can go back to my identity that says, hey, I'm not the kind of guy who makes that call, and I've still made the call, right? It creates this tremendous freedom to behave differently. And it doesn't produce any stress, right? Because I'm not saying, oh, I'm changing my identity. I'm just saying, hey, let's take a little break from it, just like Halloween. What if I just made that phone call now? Hey, this is Jonathan, da-da-da-da-da, right? And then I can go back. So there's none of this resistance, because I'm not saying, hey, I'm permanently going to be the getting on the phone guy. It just creates this freedom. Silly question, anybody ever felt, hey, I'm not good enough? Yeah, we all have, right? It's part of being a human being. What if the next time you thought that, you followed that up with, what if I am good enough? What if I am okay? A client came to me. This lady said, you know, I'm 60 years old now. I've been tortured my whole life by this belief that I'm not good enough. And I've tried everything under the sun to work with it. Can you help me? I'm like, of course, right? So we did some of my work with her. But then I also taught her this what if technique. And she took this to heart, and she used it all the time. And every time that came up that, oh, I'm not good enough, she was like, what if I am good enough? What if I am good enough? And she created where that's her new automatic response. That's her new habit. Every time she thinks, I'm not good enough, boom, what if I am? And this has totally changed her life. And she's no longer being tortured by this, I'm not good enough. So she's happier, her career's going better. But the biggest thing is she's not being tortured anymore, right? By I'm not being good enough, which is a horrible thing to be tortured by. So it's an incredibly powerful technique, incredibly simple technique too. One other little piece about what if. Milton Erickson, if you haven't heard of him, he's the guy basically who made hypnotherapy famous. Tremendously talented healer, therapist, change agent, whatever we want to call him. And one of the things Milton was also noted for is his ability to tell stories. And in telling the stories, he would insert little bits of information that were missing that would allow that person to change, to grow, to heal. And one day Milton was doing some work with some inmates in the prison. And in came this one young man who was bad news. This guy was in prison because he had committed violent crimes. While in prison, he was bad news. He caused problems, bad attitude, causing problems in the prison, right? So his life trajectory was not headed in a good way. In he comes, he sits down across the table from Milton Erickson, and Milton says exactly one sentence to this guy. He looks at him and he says, what if you woke up tomorrow and everything was different? That's all he said to the guy. What if you woke up tomorrow and everything was different? And he's like, hey, bring in the next prisoner. Now, there was other doctors observing Milton because there was always other doctors observing Milton because his results were so far superior to his contemporaries that people were always like, what's he doing that I'm not, right? So there's all these doctors observing him, and they're like, oh, look, that kid was even too tough for Milton to help, right? But they missed what happened because when Milton said that what if, he inserted a little bit of missing something in that kid's head that all of a sudden said, wait, my life can be different. I can change. I can have a decent life. And this kid started to change. And he ended up ultimately getting released early for good behavior in prison. He turned into a model citizen. And he went out into life and he had a life. He got married, he raised a family, he had a productive career. He was a happy, well-adjusted person, right? His life was never headed that direction. And this one little sentence, what if, created that change for him, right? Well, you don't need to sit down across the table from Milton Erickson. You can do this to yourself. What if I am able to achieve my goals? When you're feeling down, when you're feeling like, I can't do it. What if I can, right? You're creating possibility where there is none. So this technique is incredibly simple. It works, and obviously it only works if you use it. So the people I share this with who use it all have great stories to tell me, like the story I shared about the lady who didn't feel she was good enough. And people who don't use it, well, no surprise, they don't have any stories to tell about how well it worked. So what if? Use it and be amazed by what it can do for you. What if you use this technique regularly? Thanks.